Hello, you lovely fine people of the internet. My name is Sabina. I'm the left-handed alchemist. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you the process of me making this sweater that I'm currently wearing. For those of you who follow this channel, I wore this sweater last week. I teased it a little in the last video. Yeah, I don't feel bad about it. It's been done for weeks and I've been enjoying it for weeks, and now I get to tell you all about it and how it feels now that it's done and I've had a little bit of time to wear it. I want you guys to keep in mind this is the fourth sweater I've ever knit in my entire life. 4. That's not very many. I've only been knitting consistently for about a year and a half. And yeah, I just am kind of ambitious and I don't know what I'm doing most of the time. But I just kind of go for it because I'm like, how hard can it really be? Kind of living like that delusional reality where it's delusional, but it yields results. So let's get into it. It's this pattern, the Simple Hood cardigan. You can find it on Ravelry if you want to just knit the plain cardigan. I realized that because this was a cardigan, it was going to be knit flat. And that gave me the opportunity to practice or try intarsia, which is a colorwork technique that I'm not sure where it originates from. I should probably learn that. It's a type of stranded colorwork where you can work flat and you don't have to carry any floats. Like everything is kind of tight together. This sweater was originally something that was kind of spiritual and something that was very sacred for me. I'll just tell you about it. I myself have been on a healing journey. I have healed from narcissistic abuse, alcoholic abuse, and I'm on the other side now as somebody who can confidently say that I will not be perpetuating those patterns within my future family dynamics when I decide to have a family of my own. It came with a lot of hard work and a lot of resilience and a lot of transmutation, hence the alchemy aspect of what we got going on here. Like, I really see myself as an alchemist. I've transmuted a lot of ancestral baggage, and I will continue to do so until the day that I die. Now, you see, when I was beginning this whole like healing journey, I've talked about this before, but I'll just mention it again for those of you who are new here. When I realized that it wasn't me who was an inherent piece of shit, it was my programming and my upbringing that had me convinced that I was, narcissistic abuse is like crazy, and that the person who is hurting the most then ends up hurting everybody else around them. And it's actually them who's a poison on a child, not necessarily that the child's inherently poisonous. But when you're a child who has been poisoned by abuse and you don't do anything about it, you become an adult who then goes around poisoning everybody else because they haven't dealt with their own shit. And I just had decided that, like, if I don't do something to change, I'm going to do it to my family, and I don't want to do that. Like, this hurts so much. I do not want to do this to other people. And by doing that, I made a vow with the ancestors unknowingly that we're going to change some shit. It got spiritual. It got weird. We did a lot of EMDR healing, and here we are now as a fully formed adult who still has some work to do, but as somebody who is not going to perpetuate the same kind of abuse and trauma onto my children that was done to me. Like I mentioned, like the ancestors came online pretty quick for me. It was kind of like making that vow called them in. And I felt more comfortable with my matriarchal ancestors. So for me, the process of ancestral veneration looked a lot like reading and understanding about the cultures of the people who came before me, understanding family lines, family trees, where did we come from, what kind of things did we do, understanding history in the regional context in which the people that came before me grew. That was a lot of fun. I found so much magic in my matriarchal line, and have really done a lot of groundwork in knitting together the mother wound that kind of hangs over my family. I think a lot of us deal with this. I know I'm not alone in this. It is a lonely path, though. I am doing this by myself. I have a little bit of support, but the level of transmutation in which I operate with and try to achieve, I guess, is something that I have had to do by myself. I carry the torch, knowing that at any point I could turn around and it is just me paving the path to something new. And it's lonely and it's scary. And when I think about my patriarchal line, that is where I am like nauseous with fear, because it was the patriarchal line within my living relatives and ancestors that hurt me the most. And it's been hard to reconcile I have gone no contact with my narcissistic family members, and in a way that's brought me a lot of liberation. But I am currently in a place where I'm asking myself, what does healing my divine masculine and healing my masculine line look like when I don't have a relationship with the living ancestors that are here now? And I still don't know, but I felt the wind kind of tickle in my ear in the late summer of 2024 that it's time, that you cannot stand in your full authenticity when you're rejecting an entire part of yourself. Because I have been actively rejecting my masculine side and my masculine line, equating it with all of the terrible things that have happened to me and that have been done to me as a child. And in a lot of ways, continuing to perpetuate a victimhood mindset in a way that when you're coming into your power, sometimes it is liberating to know that something was done to you and that is not inherently who you are. But it becomes a heavy weighted blanket that in some ways is comforting because then you don't have to take responsibility, but becomes a burden because without taking responsibility, you can't fully move on. So I have been in the process of opening my heart and opening myself to the reality that it is going to be time to transmute some of the pain from my masculine here soon. What does that look like? I don't know. It has me absolutely terrified. But I open myself to it nonetheless. Do some ritual, do some visualization. My spiritual practice is not super like physically manifested. I experience a lot of it in the way that I create and my abundant creativity, as well as my mind's eye, and my third eye is very active. I realized that a lot of the things that I just thought was my active imagination was a little bit more than just seeing pictures and movies play out in my head. And so trusting in that and knowing that when the time for a ritual or a time for action is being presented, and knowing and trusting myself in taking that opportunity to do what energy work I need to do. I can talk about learning how to trust yourself and find your confidence in another video. I feel like that is like a whole conversation we could have that doesn't need to take away from the sweater. But this is all just context to the creation of the sweater and why I created it and why when I call it a sacred garment, that it is in fact a sacred garment. Because when I decided to open my heart to the masculine, I didn't know what it was going to look like. I didn't know what I needed to do. But I just knew that it was time to start integrating the parts of myself that I was rejecting because I wanted to be whole. I want to operate from my true, fullest, most authentic place. And to do so, I have to stop rejecting myself. So as soon as I do that, I start to experience synchronicities with the Morrigan. Some of it was through my TikTok For You page, which opened the door, I think. And then the algorithm kind of did the thing where you like interact with a video a couple times and it sends you more. And it's kind of like, I don't know, something about this just kind of feels like the algorithm. But the first few videos, I had this sensation where it was like a tingly spreading from my heart to my extremities of resonance of like, holy shit, this is what I've been working with this whole time. Like the Morrigan represents to me a connection to my ancestors. A lot of my ancestors were Irish, and there's lots of themes of liberation. There's lots of themes of breaking chains and breaking cycles. She's the goddess of war. She's depicted by crows and horses. She's more than one goddess. It's like this very hard to understand pinpoint thing. Like she's not one thing, she's actually three things, and historically she could be considered three separate goddesses that kind of have become associated as one. It's confusing. I don't fully understand it. I've gone down rabbit holes. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos. I think Irish Pagan School is a really awesome free resource to start learning about the Morrigan if you're interested in learning about Irish mythology. I read a couple books. They were very surface level kinds of books, but I think also something that I have to consider too is that in my own spiritual practice, I will kneel for no one, especially not a man. And I just, like, I won't kneel for the Christian God. I won't kneel for my own, like, ego. I won't kneel for the Morrigan. I feel like when we are interacting with deities and entities, it's really archetypal energy. And if you don't know what that is, I would encourage you to look it up. It's helped me shape and create reference for different types of energies that I experience in life and can see in other people and in the world around me. And I think that playing with archetype is a fun way to experience different aspects of self and to create a deeper relationship with the higher self, which is like being channeled through the egoic Sabina, but she is not Sabina. She is something else, and she might be a lot of different things and people at the same time. And it's all kind of like when you follow a creek back to the main source like of the river that it came from, and the main river being like the source of all things, the creator. The way that I see it is like branches branching off, where there's like a main source, but there's like a lot of branches from those branches and in those branches. And at the end of one of those branches is the Sabina that is physically sitting here in this space and time now, communicating these thoughts. But when I think about my higher self, I think that she is something that exists amongst like many different branches. When I have a relationship with her and that higher self, I say her because it is still like something that I'm associating with my ego, but I don't think it's gendered. Anyway, I'm rambling at this point. I feel this connection with the Morrigan in a way. It's like I'm putting the pieces together where maybe I've been working with this energy this whole time. Like I decided to break the chains of my ancestral wounding, and here she is, a chain-breaking goddess, popping up in different synchronicities, and different information is coming to me that I didn't ask for necessarily. It felt like she was extending a hand to me. And something that I really have tried to implement in my spiritual practice is devotion, and the way that I devote myself to my spiritual practice. And sometimes that's like work, like physically moving my body and being in devotion to the physical aspect of what this life is. Like I'm a physically embodied spirit sent to earth to experience this space and time and to maybe speak my mind about it. I don't really know. I don't know the full scope of what I'm here to do. Maybe I'm just here to experience and to make art and like have fun. And that's really as simple as it is. Maybe there's more. I don't know. I get to experience and develop that as I age and as I go through this life. Moving my body and being in devotion to taking care of this vessel that I've been given is a devotion to myself and my higher self for having the opportunity to experience life in this space and time. Another thing that I do for devotion is creativity. I feel like after I did the Artist's Way last year, well, I did the Artist's Way in 2023. I'm still kind of thinking of last year as like 2023 because it's only January of 2025, so it's still kind of fresh. But I did the Artist's Way in 2023, and I really integrated the idea that to create is the most spiritual thing you can do. It is like fully embodying the creator. Like the creator created us so that we can create, kind of thing. And I began to recognize the raging river of creativity that flows through me at any given time. And as a human, it is my job to exercise and wield my channel in a way that is beneficial to me, where I don't burn out, which has been the case for me over many years. And now I am starting to develop the muscles and the skills to be able to wield my creativity in a way where it's a slow burning ember as opposed to a bonfire that burns out at the end of the night. So that's been kind of fun to experience. And through the creative act, I feel like I have the opportunity to devote myself to the creator, as well as be really intentional to whom and to what I am creating for. And I think that with knitting, it is a love that I have rekindled over the last couple of years. When I was in high school, my grandma bought me my first set of knitting needles. Like she bought me like the clover, like the wood bamboo knitting needles, like the interchangeable ones. And at the time I didn't really understand what that meant and how special those knitting needles are, and honestly how expensive they are. And I took it for granted. And then I kind of went through a sobriety journey in 2023 where I was really addicted to like Dabigail, and it was really affecting my life for the negative. And I needed something to do that was different than my normal day-to-day life that offered a creative outlet that gave me something to do instead of smoking weed every night. My husband got me a tufting gun, which then led me to buying acrylic yarn so that I could practice that, which then led me to having the materials to learn how to crochet, which then led me learning how to do mosaic crochet, which then led me to learn that my body and crochet don't do well together. It really makes my shoulder like really hurt. And so I thought, well, what about knitting? And then I knit my first garment, and then it was kind of like, whoa, this is fun. I like the way that this looks better. Just for me personally, I wasn't finding the right crochet patterns to make clothes that looked good. I just don't like the fabric that it makes for clothing. Blankets, absolutely, hell yeah. Prefer a crochet blanket to a knit blanket. But for knitting, I just felt this, it wasn't as hard on my body. And I felt this connection that was deeper than me. And remembering that my grandma is the one who taught me how to knit. She's the one who gave me all these tools. And in March of 2023, my grandma passes away. And I'm in the middle of a project. And I never really get the opportunity to show her any of my finished projects. And so I found that it still makes me emotional because I still miss her every day. But I feel like when I knit, I'm sitting with her. I'm sitting with the people who came before me who participated in this craft, because the thing about knitting is that it's ancient. It is something that women have been doing for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years as a means to clothe their family, but also as a creative thing. The way that women and women's crafts have been so undervalued in the art world because it's craft or because it's women's work is insulting. And I feel that the more I operate in my life, the more empowered I feel to be a woman, and the more grateful I feel to be a woman, and that how sacred it really is. And when I'm knitting, I'm also in devotion to the ancestors. Yes, I'm having fun. I'm exercising my brain. I'm creating something. I'm making something of my time in a way that feels really good. And then I have clothing, and then there's like this whole like resistance element to making your own clothes instead of buying things in the capitalist machine and whatever. That's a whole nother video though, honestly. But through the process of sitting down and knitting this sweater, I feel like I have been in devotion to not only my ancestors, but the Morrigan, because the symbols that I chose to interweave into this design are of the Morrigan. I'll show you a picture right here of the back, and like you'll see the sweater come to life throughout the course of this video. But there's two crows on the back that represent the Morrigan. There's a Triskele. It's in the shape of a portal, which is something that I personally use a lot in my own spiritual practice. The visualization and the act of changing timelines to me is done through portal walking. That's kind of how that's the vocab I have for it right now. I don't know if that's like a thing. I can feel a timeline coming for me to jump onto. It looks like a portal. It looks like a swirly little door that I have to walk through and never look back. And then when I do finally have the space to look back, it's always a locked door. It's really hard to like go back to old timelines once you've really committed and made the decision to jump into the new one. And over the course of the several months it took for me to knit this sweater and to create this sweater, I hopped a couple portals, and it wasn't until I was reflecting actually last night that I realized, oh shit, like that worked. Jumping through those portals actually worked. And through the creation of this sweater and marking it in time, I get to see how much I as a person grew. And I don't know if it's necessarily because of this sweater, but I think that when you open yourself up and make decisions with definitive, like this is what I'm doing, that it does open doors energetically that translate to physical opportunities and physical shifts within you as a person and within your life and the things that come up for you. Maybe it's just a sweater. Like really at the end of all of this, maybe it's just a sweater that's like really cool and designed fun and was really fun to make and taught me a lot about garment construction and showed me how novice I still am in all of this, because I don't know if I've mentioned yet, but this is the 4th sweater I've ever made. And so during the process of making this sweater, there's a lot of trial and error that happens, but in a way that teaches me a lot about what I'm going to do next time. So yeah. I think we should get into it. When I first started to make this sweater, I was not planning on sharing the process at all. And then I shared a couple of videos on TikTok about the sweater, and it just felt really good to share. And the more content I would create, around the sweater, the longer, don't mind the dog, more I captured, the more I realized I think it needs to be a longer form video because I don't want to make this a 60-second TikTok. I would like to do a little more with this than just like throw it up on TikTok. I feel much more like resonant with YouTube. So here we are. Here is the Morgan sweater. Basically, once the body is done and I show you the process of making the sleeves and making the buttons and finishing it and doing all the final details. And I hope you enjoy. So to get started, before I even buy the yarn, plan out any of the colors, I make a chart. And how I make a chart is by hand, because naturally that is the easiest way to do it, right? I found the free graph knitting paper online and I started to design based on the shape of the sweater. I looked at the pattern, I figured out where the increases are, and I kind of drew a rough outline. I found a crow knitting pattern online for free that I used because, you know, like the Morgan and crows, and they kind of go hand in hand. But because I had never done intarsia before, I had to knit a sample, and I knit a sample out of acrylic. And if I can remember, I'll go and take a picture of it. I have it hanging in my studio right now, but honestly, I keep forgetting to go and take a picture of it. But here you can see me knitting a sample to figure out that intarsia, while it is controlled chaos, it's very fun, and the final product is very satisfying, and I'm happy with it. I have no footage of me actually knitting the body, but here is the pattern. Here's the pattern that I made, so if that looks like something you want to do, take a screenshot and do it. Guys, I really wanted to show you the progress that I've made on this sweater that I've been knitting. It is the first sweater that I've ever designed a color work chart for. I am knitting the simple hood cardigan. Here's the pattern. I think I found it on Ravelry. You can Google that yourself. And then, because I wanted to go all out for this project, instead of going the easy route and finding the knitting grid paper online and just doing it on my Procreate, I printed it out and I designed a chart by hand. I ended up not actually following the chart all the way through, but hello, extra, read all about it. This is what we have so far. It's just the body of the sweater. I still have to do the sleeves and then the ribbing, and I'm gonna make the buttons out of silver. So excited about that. But here's what we have. We have the hood. That was fun. I've never knit a hood before. So we have the hood, and then we have the delicious color work, as you can see. 2 ravens or crows, a little plus moment, and then a swirly moment right here. So cute. And then on the arms, we have a little row of pluses. I think the sleeves I'm gonna finish out in a striped moment. And then on the front, we have this kind of 1x1 color work stitching to incorporate the colors from the back into the front. I decided not to do the color work on the hood because I've never knit a hood before, and I didn't know how that was gonna feel, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I think it actually turned out really nice how it is. It's kind of curly because I haven't put the edge border around it. You know, it'll be this gray like on the bottom, and then I'll do an I-cord bind off, at least on one of the sides, on the front side. Then, like I said, hand fabricated silver buttons. I think I'm gonna do a stripe moment for the sleeves. Planning on doing that over the next couple weeks. I would really like to have this piece done by Christmas, but we'll see. It's December, what day is it? December 8th as I'm recording this. I think 2 sleeves and the edge. But the thing is, like, the thing that's gonna take forever is get a load of these freaking ends, man. Here's the thing about intarsia. Oh, fatality. I have to weave all of these in and like secure them and make sure that they're not going to come unraveled, because I'm planning on wearing the shit out of this sweater. It's kind of a sacred garment for me. Anyway, here's what I've been working on as of lately. It's been very nice, and I can't wait to knit more and more and never quit and just knit my entire wardrobe of beautiful wool garments. Oh yeah, this is Malabrigo Rio's yarn for anybody who cares. Stay tuned as I knit the sleeves. And here is a more detailed, slower look at what I have going on. So we have all of the body of the sweater knit up. The crows are done. Like, really, like, the bulk of the color work is done. It was controlled chaos getting to this point, you guys. You should have seen all the bobbins hanging and bobbing and duping around on the back of that thing. It was insanity. But I survived it, and I can and will do it again. I promise you that. And something that I pretty much always incorporate into my art are secret details. So whether it's a painting and you look for like something little that you really have to be looking out for, or like with this sweater, the little crosses that are kind of under the armpit on the side of the body, those feel like a secret detail that you would have to be intentionally looking for to find when the piece is done. And I like to do this with my jewelry too, engravings and little things on the back that just give it that like bit of personality that is very unique to the individual person. I have a little update on the crow sweater. For those of you who are new here, I am knitting a sweater that I completely designed the Intarsia colorwork on. It is simple hood cardigan. Here you go, take a screenshot. It was on Ravelry. Previously, I showed you the body with no sleeves, but an update has occurred. I have knit an entire sleeve, and this is where things stray from the pattern a little bit. I am kind of tired of knitting sweaters with these really boxy shapes where you basically, like, what is the point of doing ribbing if it's the same size as a sleeve? That's just something for me. I want the ribbing to be a little bit smaller, more fitted to the arms. So what I ended up doing is I did some color work for the sleeves, lots of just like 1x1 and stripe knitting to accentuate and to complement the same kind of knitting that's on the front. I have knit one other sweater in Malabrigo Rios, so I know that the yarn is really heavy and that when it does block out, it will stretch and grow a lot. My first sweater that I ever knit was Malabrigo Rios, and I knit the sleeve to fit perfectly, and now it like covers my whole hand, and it drives me crazy because I have to roll it up if I want to wash my hands or do anything using my hands when I wear the sweater. So I decided for this one, from about here down, I mean, you can kind of see the shaping. I did a decrease every other row, and then once I got to this brown, I decreased a whole bunch. I went from 65 stitches to 33 stitches, and then I did the cuff with 30 stitches, a twisted ribbing. I don't know what it's called, but it's like when you knit one and then you slip one purlwise with the yarn in front, and it helps keep the shape of the ribbing so that when I block it, it doesn't completely stretch out. Because what I'm wanting to occur here is a billowing effect. Nothing too crazy, but I'm anticipating this to stretch out a little bit because there's quite a bit of give before I've blocked it. And then it's a little short, but I'm anticipating it to grow an inch or two at least. So I'm hoping that the tighter ribbing around my wrist holds it in place and there's more of like a billowing effect. And we'll see. I will hopefully be able to leave it in such a way where like if I don't like it, I can cut it and do the ribbing again. But yeah, that's what I have so far. Here we are on the sacred garment, the very warm wool sacred garment. Oh yeah, I don't know if you guys saw this detail last time, but I'm really liking it. I wasn't sure how I was gonna like the transition from the crosses to the stripes, but I think having enough going on right here helped, I don't know, pave the way for the stripe work. Plus it complements the front really good, which I really like. So yeah, took me 2 sessions of knitting to get from here to here and then here to here. Nights of watching the NFR finals, because I live in a cowboy house, will get you 1 sleeve. So I'm hoping there's 5 more nights. I will have this done by the end of the NFR. Stay tuned. Okay, we have an official sweater update. Both sleeves are done. I had to do a little finagling because I did not like the way I did the sleeve the first time. I actually did the second sleeve to see that I like that better, and then I redid the other one. So let's see. Let's see if I can bind off and call it a day. I like it. I think I am going to do a little bit more length in the sleeves though, because I changed the size of the needles when I redid them. So it's a little different than I was anticipating in all the numbers and how they worked out. So I'm going to add a little bit more length to each of the sleeves. As you can see, I kind of anticipated this happening, but I think it's gonna be good. I did it. I finished knitting the entire cardigan sweater. We have crows on the back, we have stripes on the sleeves, we have more color and stripes on the front. I'm gonna put it on and show you guys. I did end up going back and redoing one of the sleeves because originally I thought it'd be really cute to do this like kind of billowed sleeve moment, and it is cute. I do like it. It just needed some adjusting after I finished the second sleeve, and I liked the second sleeve better because I did it a little differently. But here we are, here we are, here we have it, here we have it. We have crows, we have a spiral, we have plus signs, we have stripes, we have warm, warm wool, all in one big sweater. I'm interested to see how it blocks out with the way I did the ribbing around it. It is not looking good right now. As far as I'm concerned, at this exact moment, it does not look good. But blocking do be magical. I made some silver buttons that will go here to hold it closed. And then I have about 475 ends to weave in that I will be doing over the next 17 and a half hours because I will be in the car going home. So stay tuned for that. So at this point, I am in my throne, passenger princessing hard, while my husband drives us from Milwaukee to Colorado. You know, what is a girl to do other than spend her time listening to the worst audiobook she's ever listened to and weaving in hundreds of ends at the same time? It was the Zodiac Academy, for anybody who is wondering. I'm sorry if you love that series. It made me so mad because it was so poorly written and I hated every character. I wanted all of the boys to die a painful death. They deserved no redemption, but it would have been cool if the author had even tried to give any of them redemption and any kind of character development even once throughout the course of the series. Rant over. I'm done talking about it. So yeah, here I am, weaving in the ends in real time. And by real time, I mean double speed. I kept track though. I kept track of every end that I wove in, and I'll tell you about it because there's a clip here along the way somewhere where I actually talk to the camera again. But as you can see, I'm not doing much talking. I'm just listening. I'm just listening to my brain cells die. I don't have a tripod, okay? I don't have a tripod. Like, I'm in my car, so... You're in my cup holder, okay? But we've been driving since 11 a.m. It is now 5:03. We're a good 6 hours into this whole voyage. And I have been weaving in ends nonstop. I've done a lot of trial and a lot of error and some experimentation and then some YouTube and Googling to figure out, like, what am I doing? I'm still kind of new at knitting, despite my gigantic project that I'm undertaking. I think I'm just over halfway with weaving in my ends. I have one sleeve completely done. I have this front panel completely done. I have one crow completely done, and the spirally bit in the back completely done. As you can see, we are making progress. I don't know if you can see actually, because I'm recording this really quick while we're at a gas station, but I have all of this and some of the bird left, and then this entire side. I was predicting about 150 ends. When I got done with the first sleeve, I was at 50. So, I don't know. Where I'm at now, I've been tallying every end that I cut. We are at 126 ends woven in. That feels like a big deal to me, and it's not a competition, but if it was, I would win. So I'll update you guys when I get closer to being finished. It's officially done. It's officially done. The sweater of the year is done. I finished it in the car on the way home from visiting my mom in Milwaukee. 261 ends woven in. I counted because I just needed to know. And now the last thing to do is block it. But I'm gonna show you guys like a solid before and after of what this looks like before it's blocked. So that's exciting. It was impossible for me to find good lighting and a neutral background, so get over it. This is what it looks like, and it's just like a before shot before I block it. I'm going to show you the blocking process next, which is the process of washing and shaping the sweater so that it fits correctly. And I'll tell you more about the details once we get into the actual process of blocking the sweater. I'm dragging this out because I don't know when the next clip starts. Okay, so to block your sweater, you are going to fill a basin with cool water. And then you're going to use some kind of wool wash. I had this Kookaburra wool wash that I got from my mother-in-law. It smells like tea tree. Don't recommend it because I do not like the smell of tea tree, but it is what I had and it worked good. So you're going to get that sweater wet. What the water does is it helps expand and open the fibers so that they can fully relax. Because when you're knitting, the yarn gets twisted, the tension can be a little uneven, and the water allows the fibers to fully relax and take their proper shape. It helps with puckering, with color work, and just tension issues can usually be worked out in blocking. So you're going to leave it in the water for a couple hours, kind of agitate it very gently because you do not want your wool to felt. It is basically like Velcro. And if you agitate it too much in warm water, it will turn into felt, which when intentional is very cool, but the worst thing ever would be to work so hard making your wool sweater and then to felt it during the blocking process because it's pretty much irreversible at that point. So once you let it sit for a little while, I think I let mine sit for a couple hours because quite frankly, I forgot about it. You are going to begin the process of getting the soap and the dirt out of the sweater. So what I do here is I'm agitating it a little bit, just very lightly. This is a superwash wool, which means it's coated with some kind of plastic kind of conditioner that helps make it easier to care for. So I don't have to be super delicate with my current fiber that I'm using because I know it's probably not going to felt, but I just find it good practice to be really delicate with wool so that when I am working with real normal wool, it doesn't felt. It's just like muscle memory at this point to wash it correctly. So I'm rinsing it with cool, clean water and pushing out as much of the old water as I possibly can to wash the soap out of the fibers because I don't really want to have a bunch of soap residue in my final sweater. And then once you have all of the soap out, you'll turn the water off and gently squish the water as much as you can out with your hands. You never want to wring it. That can felt it, that can warp it. You don't want to do it. So just kind of squeezing and pushing and just getting as much of the water out as you can. And this step will help with the next step, where you wrap it in a towel and get even more of the water out. So it doesn't have to be perfect because there's a couple steps you're going to take to actually get all of the water out of the garment. So after you get as much squeezed out as you can, you're going to lay a clean towel down and lay your garment in that and then roll it up and stomp on it. So to get all the water out, I'm going to do this at least 2 times, 3 times if you really want to get crazy with it. But for the sweater, I only do it twice. Take your socks off, you guys, because you're stomping on a wet sweater. Your socks are going to get wet. And if it's not a sensory thing for you, more power to you. But it is for me. Drove me crazy. Had to immediately take off my socks. But you're going to stomp on it and attempt to get as much of the water out as you can. And then once you feel like that towel is definitely damp, you're going to do it again with another dry, clean towel. I live in a super dry environment, so things just normally dry really fast here. And to save myself a little laundry and time, I only did it twice, but use your own discretion when you do this. Okay, so the sweater is completely dry, and you guys are about to see how it fits with me for the first time ever. So here's hoping that this is good. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, you guys. I did it. I made a sweater. Don't mind all the dust. Jeez. Looks like a snowstorm. Walking in a winter wonderland. I think this is like really a testament to why you need to block your work, because look at the way that this came out. It's incredible. I'm amazed. I'm so proud of myself. I made something really cool. I will say this is still kind of bacony, not my favorite. Not like really the best hood shape, but I don't really know if I like knitwear hoods. I do like hoods though. Maybe it's not that bad. It's not great. It's not great. I would not recommend doing an I-cord edge for a hood. It's giving bacon. But here it is, my wool sweater. Last thing I have to do is sew on the buttons that I made. I'll show you guys the process of me making the buttons next, and then I'm gonna sew them on. Here I've measured out where they need to go, so yeah. I have been a silversmith for like 13 or more years at this point, and I really love mixing materials and mixing media, so having the opportunity to make buttons for this sweater was really fun. I cut out some 18mm silver buttons. I think it's 22 gauge silver if you care. Put them in my engraving vise, and then I engraved these designs on them. I don't know. If you want any custom buttons, bang my line. We are so close at this point. Like, this sweater is structurally really close to done. As far as like the knitting goes, it is done. It is done being knit. But there's a few things about the shape and the fit that is just due to me being a novice and not really knowing what I'm doing. And I've had to do some tinkering and some fixing and some adjusting to make it how it is now, and it needs some more tinkering and adjusting. And so I'm gonna put this on and show you what it looks like now that it's done being blocked. It looks great. I love the way that blocking is so magic. Like, we took a stiff kind of scrunched up sweater and it is now beautiful. It drapes so beautifully. It feels comfortable. Like, it feels good to wear. And I love it. My husband said I look like a little medieval girl going into the city to get grain for my family when I wear it. And I know he was joking, but to me, it shows that knitting is such a historic craft. It is something we have been doing as women and as people really for hundreds and hundreds of years. And to be able to continue that tradition today in the modern era with machine knitting, it feels fucking magical. So let's get into the piece. Here we have the buttons are sewn on. You saw those as the finished product in the previous little section of this video. The thing is, the buttonholes, I didn't account for the way that everything stretches when it blocks when I made these. So the buttonholes were too big. I had to sew them closed a little bit, but they do in fact sew closed now and stay closed. So that's a success. Buttonholes being too big was my first little error that I had to fix. And the second error is something I don't really know if I can fix. I'm gonna take it into the local yarn store, but as you can see, like, I needed about 4 or 5 more buttons. Like, there needs to be a button here, there needs to be another button here, and here, and here. Like, it's doing the big boob thing, but I don't have big boobs. It's just, you know, just not accounted for what a knit garment was gonna do with the button closures. This is my 4th sweater that I've ever knit in my entire life. So considering how it looks, I would say that I'm doing pretty good. And the fact that it shows my novice is okay because I am a novice. I think it looks the best right now, just closed with the top button. Looks cute. I will say, if you're gonna design like a whole color work chart for the back of your sweater, a hood isn't the best idea. I've wanted to knit this cardigan for months, but I didn't account for how the hood was gonna cover my design. So let me show you. I think I'm in frame. I hope I'm in frame. Like, this is the hood as it is, laid back. It covers the head of the crows and the plus sign. So I want to wear it like up for the most part. I think that looks really cute. It looks cute if the hood is up and you can see the whole design. But the thing about the hood is this like bacon neck, bacon edge kind of situation where it's like really wiggly, and it's because of this I-cord. It's because of a couple things. One, there's too many stitches around the edge. My bad. I learned a lot making this sweater. So I learned like what to do next time I have to knit a border around something, or when I have to knit the ribbing on something like after the fact. I learned, you know, like I learned a lesson, like I said, 4th sweater I've ever knit. And then the I-cord cast off. If you're gonna do it a needle size down, because it's just too much. Like, it's too much. So I'm considering the solution for this problem to be that I sew it back like this all the way around the edge. And I tested it out last night. Like, I used some of those quilters clips around the edge just to get an idea for like what it might look like. And even with the clips weighing it down, it did give it more of like a flowy enchanted hood structure just by folding it back. But with it being folded back, I'm going to make an I-cord and then sew it inside of the hood, sew it inside of this so it's like sandwiched in there, free floating for the most part. Like, I think I might secure it at the top, but then there will be 2 strings that hang down that I can use to tighten the hood. So on cold days, if I need more of a cinch and I don't want to put a scarf on, then I have a little bit more of a cinch. Like, that's what I love about hoodies in general, is being able to put the hood up and cinch it closed so it's like warm. And this is a very warm sweater. I'm currently sweating my pits off because it's not cold outside right now. Believe it or not, it's January in Colorado. It's 55 degrees out. And the heat is on in the house. So being upstairs, anyway, too much information. But I think that that is the next step. Like, I really thought that this was gonna be the final video, the final clip to this grand video, but alas, I'm gonna take you guys through the process of me figuring out this hood situation. I think it will be really fun to make the I-cord. I think I'm gonna do it in the same purple that I knit these in. I have a lot of that left, and I think it will blend really well with the way this brown has a lot of purple in it, and obviously with like the purple in the design as well. It's the same purple, whatever. Okay, so this is what we have. This is the final Morgan sweater. She is finished. I could block her one more time, but I don't think I will. What I have done is I've added buttons. I did afterthought buttonholes, added 4 more buttons. 1, 2, 3, 4. Found them in my button stash. Then what I did is I made an I-cord, 44 inches long. Maybe a little too long, if I'm being honest. I don't think I even need the 6 extra inches of this, but whatever. Then I took the ribbing that was around this entire thing and I sandwiched this I-cord in between it where it can be pulled taut. So like I can do one of these if I really wanted, or kind of leave it open. Sewed it right here so it's secure to like the whole sweater so it can't come out. And then I think that folding it over gave it a little structure, but it also gives me the opportunity to like close my hood if I want to. Tighten it a little so it lays how I want. There. Anyway, doesn't really matter. She's perfect. Okay, this is how she looks when she's all buttoned up. There's no more puckering. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I designed this sweater. I designed this sweater. I made this. I'll take like a full 360 when I'm in good lighting later, but this is the bathroom lighting currently. A little hidden detail, a little shoulder detail. She's done. She's done. She's done. And, And here you have it, everyone. This is the final Morgan sweater. So cute, so fresh, so delicious, so good. Thanks for watching. It's been a pleasure sharing the process with you. Fine people of the internet, if you'd like to stay tuned, I have a little outro message. And yeah, you can follow the link tree in the description for all of the details on how to stay in contact with me. Thanks for watching. I love you. Okay, so this clip is actually a lot longer than I thought, and as I'm watching it, I'm like, it's really just showing off all the details, and I don't really have anything else to say, but I don't really know how to insert like copyright-free music into my YouTube videos yet, so here's my own rendition of the Wii song. Do 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 do. Well, that's it. That's the sweater. Thanks so much for being here, and thanks so much for listening to me talk, and for, yeah, just like watching all of that unfold. I'm really proud of myself for finishing this, and I am excited to start the next one. And the next sweater that I'm knitting, I've already started. Actually, I'll be showing you guys the process of that too. It's a completely new construction type. I think as a whole, I'm really proud of this sweater. I knit it in Malabrigo Rios. It's a superwash wool. It's really warm. It's really soft, which I really appreciate. But I will say, after I finished the sweater December 31st, and I tinkered with it for about a week to get all of the details how I wanted it. But all the while I was wearing it, and it's already started pilling. And that is like a little unfortunate to me because it's not cheap yarn. I blocked it, like I washed it when I blocked it, and I haven't washed it again. Because the thing with wool is like you really don't need to wash it that often. Like unless it gets really nasty, but like wool is already naturally antimicrobial and antibacterial. If you're not like being nasty, you can let your wool air out and you don't have to wash it that often. So I haven't had the need to wash it again. And it's pilling on the arms. And it's pilling on the, like the body right here. A little bit where like my arms rub against it. And that is just information to have. If you are okay with that happening over time, fine. I'm gonna be okay with it because I did it. Like, I'm not gonna not wear the sweater just because it's pilling, but it might not be something that I wear forever. It might be something that I wear on special occasions, especially as I make more sweaters and like in the future and have more options for hand knit wool sweaters that I've made. So that's just something to keep in mind. That's like my only negative. I think overall though, I'm really proud of it. You know, considering it is my 4th sweater, I think that I just have to recognize like I'm still very novice in this craft. I'm less than 2 years into really developing this craft. And I have a lifetime left to go because I really do feel like this is more than just a phase. And while I am a jack of all trades, I do enjoy many different hobbies, and I'm like a medium paced knitter. I'm not like ripping through sweaters every month even. I don't have the budget for that, and I don't have the desire for that. I desire to do other things with my time and with my life than just knit all the time. So my process is a little slow compared to others that I've seen on the internet, and it's faster than others that I've seen on the internet, and it's really not a competition. It's not a race. We're all just here like crafting and having a good time. I think that the last thing I want to talk about with the Morgan, it's how integral she has been for me in how I frame my context around liberation. I cannot be the only one who's a little nervous about how the next 4 years are going to go. I'm finding that there is this, how do I say this? Do what feels best for you. But when we overconsume news and media without ever really fact checking, like if your main source of information is through TikTok, it's like just reading the headlines. And I've noticed a lot of fear mongering. I've noticed a lot of us against theming. And I don't know if it's necessarily like an issue of the rich against the poor, but I do know that it's not about the left or the right. And we have become so entrenched in identity politics that we're kind of blind to how vast and diverse reality can really be. And something that the Morgan has been helping me do is ground myself in this time, because I will notice that I will get kind of lost in fear and just the unknown of what is the next 4 years going to look like. Are we really watching the Yazis take over again. And when people say, what do you think that the Germans were doing all that time ago? It's what you're doing now. It's very accusatory, and it implies that we have a lot of control over what's going on, which I don't necessarily know how much control we have over other people. But what I do know is we have control over ourselves and how we process information and how we process the world around us. So this is my call to action for you in the process of liberation and through resisting tyranny, through what I have learned from the Morgan. And it is very much about breaking the chains of oppression that you yourself have been bound in. I'm not necessarily oppressed by societal structures in the same way people of color and minorities are. It's just the way that it is. But through my own healing journey and my own healing process, parasitic thought forms have integrated themselves into a lot of ways in most people's lives. I've noticed that a lot of the people who are crying ACAB in 2020 are the same people who are also holding people to a moral standard that is unattainable. We have seen a lot of an attempt at conformity, and there's a difference between conformity and collective thinking and being in a collective. Being in a truly free collective society looks like honoring the individual and the gifts and the thoughts and opinions and ideas and beliefs that they bring to the table. When we begin to deconstruct who we are and why we believe what we believe, we begin to uncover the layers of ourselves that get us closer to our authentic being. You believe what you believe because you actually believe it and it's something that is from within you, or is it something that society has put on you as something that you have to be and how you have to show up in the world? Do you have identities that you deem as good, or how do I say this? Society wants to tell you what is good and bad. And if you have not done the work to establish your own sense of self, you will be susceptible to propaganda. You will be susceptible to forces that do not have your best interest in mind. So, yes, reach out to your communities. Help your fellow man directly within your community. The town that you live in is the best place to start. Volunteering, going to the library, holding the door for a citizen, showing that you can be kind to people that you don't know anything about is really impactful. Also, beginning to deconstruct your own beliefs and conditionings. Healing your traumas, healing your triggers, understanding that when you viscerally don't like somebody and they're triggering you, it's because of your own shit. You know what I'm saying? It's not, sometimes you can actually just not like somebody and that's okay, but it's when they are fully activating your nervous system that is a very strong indicator that there is something within you that is unhealed that needs to be looked at, because a lot of the times we are projecting our own pain onto the people around us and trying to get them to conform to our idea of what society has to look like. That is conformity, and a lot of times conformity is actually just oppression. Trying to get everybody to conform to your ideas of the way the world should work is oppressive. It really is, because not everybody is designed to see the world the same way as you. And to try and force people to see the world the same way as you is inherently kind of oppressive, and it's not cool. And if you would like to really liberate yourself, if you would like to see true liberation on a global scale, the work is done within. How are you being a cop? It's not necessarily about the institution of policing when we say ACAB. How are you being a cop? Kill your own inner cop. Before you try and tell other people how to live their lives, consider how telling other people to live their lives is kind of being a cop, and it's gross. And that's my own judgment of it. It's not necessarily actually gross. That's just the way I see it. When I see other people trying to control others for the sake of collective society, it's oppressive. It's oppressive, and it's not cool. A lot of people leave the church, but they never fully deconstruct. The vocabulary changes, but it's the same ideas. It's the same kind of oppressive ideas that you're pushing onto other people. Deconstruct. Do your own inner work. before thinking that it is appropriate to reach out to help others and to make people see the light. You probably just need to see the light yourself. And I say this as somebody who did the same thing. I thought, I have to help people. I have to help people. But it was really just my desire to control the narrative that was really manifesting. And it was not cool, and it was gross, and I lost friends, and I've spent a lot of years alone because I didn't know how to not be kind of a shitty person. So I say this with no judgment towards you. Just the Morgan puts into my heart the spirit of rebellion and the spirit of resistance. Nobody has authority over you unless you give it to them, is what I'm trying to say. You are your own ultimate authority. If you would like to give it to a God, that's fine, but consider the teachings of that God before you really some of them are kind of oppressive. I personally think Christianity is kind of oppressive when you get to anything beyond exactly what Jesus is talking about. Just contemporary Christianity grosses me out. I'm sorry if you're a Christian and you get offended by that. Like, that's your own trigger. You got to work through that on your own. Don't fear heaven or hell. I don't believe in it. So it's like, oh, I'm going to burn in hell. I don't believe in hell. You can't scare me. I don't believe in it. I don't believe I'm going to burn for eternity. I'll be reborn into the next life, and I'll learn lessons until, who knows? I don't really know how this goes, but I just fully, fundamentally, in the core of my spirit, do not believe in eternal hell. I think that that's a state of mind that you can achieve here on earth. Heaven and hell is a state of mind. And I don't care. I don't care about Jesus having my soul when I die. I don't believe that that's how that works. And so you can leave those comments in I'm like saying all of this because I'm anticipating Christians to be all up in my comment section. Leave whatever Bible verse you want. I don't believe it. I don't care. So yeah, I don't know. I think that overall the sweater was a success. I'm very thankful that I had the time and space and opportunity to make this sweater. I feel like I have transmuted a lot through the process of making this sweater and through the intentions that I set at the beginning of all of this, and just seeing how things have already shifted from August has been truly magical. And the journey's never over. The journey's never over. Thanks for coming with me along on this ride. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, or just really, this channel is about showing my process. Sometimes it's going to be jewelry. Sometimes it's going to be knitting. Sometimes it's going to be painting. It's just whatever the spirit strikes within me to talk about or to create is what I'm going to show you. It's very much about process. And I'm excited to deepen that more this year. And if you would like to stay along for the ride, you certainly can. Subscribe to this channel. I'm very sparingly using any social media these days. I still have my TikTok, but I don't really post on it that often. I'm considering what a reality without Instagram looks like. If you want to contact me directly, you can email me. You can find that on my website, which is in a link tree in the description of this video. You can buy any art that I have available on my website as well if you want to support this channel financially. I have my Amazon wishlist linked, but I'm considering shopping as minimally on Amazon as I possibly can this year. Just an act of resistance with buying not impulse buying and buying shit that I absolutely don't need. And yeah. That's that on that, you guys. I've been talking for a long time. It's time for me to eat some lunch and go to the gym. So yeah, thanks for being here. And until next time, my friends, I'll talk to you later. Goodbye.